Hello everyone, this is Brian Ka with another video to help you pass the California Baby Bar Exam and the Bar Exam. So in this video, we're going to continue to work on community property essay, and this is from July 2015. So without wasting any time, let's get right into it. So Question 4. In 2008, Henry and Wendy married in California. Neither had saved any money before marriage. At the time of the marriage, Henry had a monthly child support obligation of $1,000, which was deducted from his salary for a child from a prior relationship. In 2010, Wendy accepted a job at company. At that time, she was told that if she performed well, she would receive stock options in the near future. In 2011, Henry inherited $100,000. He used $25,000 to buy a necklace that he gave to Wendy as a holiday present. He used the remaining $75,000 to buy a municipal bond that paid him $300 per month. In 2012, Wendy was granted stock options by company which would become exercisable in 2014, in part because she had been a very effective employee. Later in 2012, Wendy was injured in a car accident and made a claim against the person responsible. In 2013, Henry and Wendy permanently separated and Henry moved away. In 2014, Wendy settled her accident claim for $30,000. Later in 2014, Wendy exercised her stock options and earned a profit of $80,000. In 2015, Wendy filed for dissolution. What are Wendy's and Henry's respective rights regarding the necklace, the car accident settlement proceeds, the stock option profits? Number two, should Henry be required to reimburse the community for his child support payments? And if so, in what amount? Discuss. And obviously, answer according to California law. All right, so we have done two essays, I believe, already, and this is our third one. And for each community property essay, I kept saying or telling you that it always starts out the same. There may be minor differences in the way you phrase things, but the basis, the black letter law that you have to memorize and repeat over and over and over again will be the same each time. So, again, we're going to start with California is a community property state. Define community property. Property is all property acquired during marriage, separate during marriage, or marital community, economic community. Separate property, all property acquired before marriage and after marriage. Additionally, all property acquired during marriage by device, bequest, or inheritance is separate property. Courts characterize property by number one, tracing, number two, actions taken by the party. All right, so I have California as a community property state. Community property is all property acquired during marriage or marital economic community, MEC. Separate property is all property acquired before marriage and after marriage. Additionally, all property acquired during marriage by devise, bequest, or inheritance is separate property. Courts characterize property by tracing, seeing if any actions were taken by the parties, statutory presumptions. Quasi community property is all property acquired outside of California, which would have been community property had the spouses been domiciled in California. Separation occurs when there is physical separation and intent not to resume marriage. I feel like that's good enough to get my essay started. So, what do we have to divide first? We have to divide the necklace. The necklace. So, all property, all property acquired during marriage is presumed to be community property. A spouse may rebut this presumption by tracing to the source of the asset, right? In this case, Henry inherited $100,000. Then he used 25 from that inheritance to buy a necklace, which he gave to Wendy as a holiday present, right? Uh, since the money used to purchase the necklace was from Henry's inheritance, the necklace is presumed to be community property. However, a spouse may rebut this presumption by tracing to the source of the asset, and this since the source in which the of the money which was used was rebut the CP presumption. So all property acquired during marriage is presumed to be community property. A spouse may rebut this presumption by tracing to the source of the asset. In this case, Henry inherited $100,000. Then he used $25,000 from that inheritance to buy a necklace, which he gave to Wendy as a holiday present. Since the money used to purchase the necklace was acquired during marriage, the necklace is presumed to be community property. However, a spouse may rebut this presumption by tracing to the source of the asset. Since the source of the money which was used to purchase the necklace was Henry's inherit was from Henry's inheritance, he may rebut the CP presumption, and it will be the necklace will be Henry's separate property. Next, transmutation occurs when there is a sign when it is in writing signed by the party who is being adversely affected, and there has to be an express that trans- so transmutation occurs when when it is in writing signed by the party who is being adversely affected, and there has to be an express declaration that transmutation is taking place. Okay, so was there a transmutation? Here, Henry gave the necklace to Wendy as a present. There is no indication of writing signed by Henry with express declaration that transmutation is taking place. Therefore, unless the gift exception rule applies, there was no valid transmutation. And then talk about the gift exception. If a spouse gifts personal property that is not substantial in value, primarily used by the spouse who received the gift, taking account of the circumstances, time, this if a spouse gifts personal property that is not substantial in value, primarily used primarily used by the spouse who received the gift, taking account of the circumstances at the time. Gift exception would apply without a formal transmutation in writing. Okay. So out of 100,000 which Henry received as inheritance, 25 was used to buy Wendy's necklace. At the time, he spent the rest remaining 75 to buy a municipal. Moreover, their stock options taking into account these figures, it is most likely that 25,000 was substantial in light of the circumstances. Wendy may argue that 25 was not substantial because their family expenses were a lot more than that. Since we do not have more figures, such as their family expenses or mortgage payments, we cannot make a determination as to whether 25,000 was substantial in value position. If the court rules that the necklace was substantial in value, it will remain as Henry's separate property. However, if the court rules that it was not substantial in value, will be deemed a gift to Wendy, and Wendy will be able to keep it as her separate property. All right. So we talked about the necklace, stated the rule. We also talked about transmutation, talked about the gift exception, and And since we cannot make a exact determination whether or not that $25,000 was substantial, taking into consideration their financial circumstances at the time, we cannot make a determination whether or not it was substantial. But if the court rules that it was substantial, then it would remain as Henry's separate property. However, if it was not substantial, if the court rules that $25,000 was not substantial, then it would remain as Wendy's, or it would belong to Wendy as her separate property because of the exceptions to the gift exceptions to the transmutation rule. All right, so feel okay with that? Let's go to the car accident settlement. So what happened here? Um, tort claims. So tort recovery proceeds depend on when the cause of action arose, not when it was settled. However, courts will generally award the recovery proceeds to the spouse who was injured after divorce unless justice requires otherwise. So we have to analyze the date of separation because if our analysis tells us that the separation occurred in 2015, then when they settled in 2014, that would be CP, community property. But if they separated in 2013, then Wendy settling her claim in 2014, 1 year after, would generally belong to her as separate property, right? So when there is a physical separation and intent not to resume marriage, right? In 2013, facts indicate that Henry and Wendy permanently separated. It shows that there was a physical separation. Moreover, Henry moving away, no, actually, Henry moved away. This indicates that there was a physical separation. Um, let's see, what's the intent? There is no information as to whether the spouses attempted to resume their marriage. If they tried to resume marriage, then permanent separation did not occur in 2013, but occurred in 2015 when Wendy filed for dissolution. However, there is nothing that indicates that either couple tried to resume marriage. Therefore, permanent it is very likely that permanent separation occurred in 2013 rather than 2015. Position. Since the cause of action arose in 2012, all settlement amount that prior to permanent separation would belong to the community. Since, okay, since permanent separation likely occurred in 2013, and settlement was reached in 2014, court will grant the proceeds to Wendy unless justice requires otherwise. There are no facts indicating that granting the proceeds to Wendy would would be unfair or burdensome. Therefore, the settlement proceeds will go to Wendy as her separate property. All right. All right, so car accident proceeds, tort recovery proceeds depend on when the cause of action arose, not when it was settled. However, courts will generally award the recovery proceeds to the spouse who was injured after divorce, unless justice requires otherwise. Separation occurs when there is a physical separation and intent not to resume marriage. In 2013, facts indicate that Henry moved away. This indicates that there was a physical separation. There is, what the heck? No information as to whether the spouses attempted to resume their marriage. If they tried to resume marriage, then permanent separation did not occur in 2013, but occurred in 2015 when Wendy filed for a dissolution. However, there's nothing that indicates that either couple, either spouse, tried to resume marriage. Therefore, it is very likely that permanent separation occurred in 2013 rather than 2015. Since the cause of action arose in 2012, settlement amount prior to permanent separation would belong to the community. Since permanent separation likely occurred in 2013 and settlement was reached in 2014, courts will grant the proceeds to Wendy unless justice requires otherwise. There are no facts indicating that granting the proceeds to Wendy would be unfair or burdensome. Therefore, the settlement proceeds will go to Wendy as her separate property. Okay. Okay. Now we have to do the stock options. So division of stock option profits would depend on whether the company who granted the stock options intended to reward the employee for her past work or future benefits. In this case, we are told that Wendy in this case Wendy was told that if she performed well, she would receive stock options in the future. This doesn't tell us, however, whether she received the stock options for her past work or future incentive. Therefore, we will have to analyze using both methods. stock options kind of suck because it's a little bit confusing because there's so much to memorize, but this is just one of those that you have to memorize again. There's like no going around it. You have to just memorize it. And I might get it wrong, but let's see. So for reward for past work, we will have to look at when Wendy's started her job. She started her job in 2010. She then we will have to know when their MEC merit. Oh, this is so annoying. I have a small computer. Marital economic community ended. This was in 2013. So the numerator would be 3. Next, we will have to know when the option became exercisable. It was exercisable in 2014. So from 2010, when Wendy started her job, it was 4 years until it was exercisable. This would be the denominator. So 3 out of 4, 3/4 of the stock option profits would belong to the community if this was an award for Wendy's past work. Future incentive. Okay, so future incentive would be calculated as follows. First, we have to see when the stock options were granted. It was granted in 2012. Next, we have to see when their MEC ended, which was in 2013. So the numerator would be 1. The denominator would be when the stock options were granted until it was exercisable. Again, it was granted in 2012 and exercisable in 2014. So the denominator would be 2. So the community would get one half of the stock option profits. Disposition. If this was a reward for past work, we said three-fourths, right? CP would get three-fourths, which would be 60,000, right? So Wendy would get 20,000 plus 30,000, which would be 50, and Henry would get 30. If this was for future incentive, community CP would get one half, which would be 40,000 CP. So Wendy would get 40, 60, and Henry would get 25. All right, that was not fun. Okay, so let's just finish this up, no matter how hard things get. Because in life, sometimes you're gonna be dealt the worst hand in poker, but only way to win with that hand is by bluffing, right? So should Henry reimburse the community for his child support payments? If so, how much? So we want to write that child support payments are treated like debt before marriage, which means that spouse of the child SP would be liable as well as CP. However, to the extent that separate child spouse had SP available at the time, CP would be able to get a reimbursement. So, whether or not Henry should reimburse the community would depend on whether there was SP available at the time. Did Henry have SP available at the time? Uh, In 2011, Henry inherited $100,000. He bought Wendy a necklace worth 25,000 and spent 75 to buy a municipal bond, which paid him 300 a month. So from 2011, he had separate property of 300 per month, which should be reimbursed to the community until their permanent separation, which occurred in 2013, right? So, which, so 300 times 12 would be 36, right? 36 per year, in which Henry had SP available since there, so until 2013 when their marital economic community ended. Henry had a total of 72. I think I'm doing the math right. Mm, his property. Therefore, disposition. Henry will have to reimburse the CP a total of $7,200. All right, that's it. Let's see how long that was. Necklace, car accident settlement proceeds, stock options, and we divided. All right, so that was like 50 minutes. If this was a real test, I would probably read this over like twice more just to see if I could add anything. If there are any spelling errors, I will try to get rid of them. But other than that, I feel pretty good. It may not be like a 85 answer, but I feel like it's a passing essay. So yeah, so far we've done three essays, and hopefully we can do more and finish the rest of the MBEs from the baby bars. So those of you who are watching my videos for the MBE preparation for the baby bar, that so that you can get more value and get more help. So for the next baby bar exam, to make sure that you pass so that you can continue your law school career and end up passing the bar exam. So with that, I thank you for watching my video again, and I'll talk to you guys soon.